Washington, D.C.
While it might seem like a little bit of a gimmick from one angle, I actually really hope that this commission will take a look at some of these problems and make some very strong recommendations to reduce the size and scope of government. I know that Vivek Ramaswamy has talked about potentially cutting down the size of the federal government by 75%. Now, I'm slightly skeptical of anyone's ability to do that without some major statutory reforms, which would require Congress to lead. But at the same time, he has the correct impulse, which is that what Americans need more than anything else is for the federal government to stop overspending, stop overregulating, and get out of the way of the average citizen.
I'm Chris Woodward.
If it seems like more retail outlets are closing up shop rather than holding grand openings, research shows you're right.
As of last week, a research and data firm shows retail closures are outpacing newly opened businesses. Coresight Research tells Fox Business stores shutting their doors number nearly 6,500, while there were slightly less than 5,400 openings. The closings mark the most since the height of the pandemic. Adding to concerns about the economy, Coresight also found that at least 43 companies have declared bankruptcy this year, compared to 25 last year. Factors exist on both sides, consumers not wanting to pay higher prices, and retailers facing high labor costs, both affecting the bottom line. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
What we believe about the Bible is based on what we believe about its source.
The God Who Speaks, the award-winning documentary from the American Family Association, is now available in a special limited edition DVD set. This release includes a Sunday school curriculum and 2 hours of additional footage. Go to thegodwhospeaks.org to get your copy today. thegodwhospeaks.org. Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thank you for listening to AFR. I'm Tim Wildman with Wesley Wildman. Good morning, Wesley.
Good morning.
And Fred Jackson.
Howdy there.
And in Kansas City is our good friend Ray Pritchard. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning, Tim. How you doing today?
Doing well. Yourself?
Hey, it's all good here in Kansas City. A little chilly, 45 degrees, but no rain. I can do with the chill.
Did you
if
travel?
It's no rain? Yeah, it was just over the weekend. In fact, earlier this week, Marlene and I were in the North Woods of Wisconsin, way up northern Wisconsin, a little town called Westboro, at Forest Springs Conference Center. And to get there, Tim, you go north of Medford. And once you go north of Medford, I mean, it's you are. There are no other towns anywhere nearby, and you think to yourself, we've come to the end of the world. Then you drive into the forest, and you turn right, and there in the middle of the wilderness by this beautiful lake, there's Forest Springs Conference Center, and I spoke for a pastors and Christian workers retreat, and we just had a wonderful time and got back sometime yesterday afternoon from that pastors retreat.
Well, I'm glad you got home safe and sound. What was your topic?
4 men God tested. Moses tested through failure, and Joseph tested through delay, and David tested through criticism, and Elijah tested through helplessness, and how God tested them and brought them through, basically saying that the testing times of life, they're not on the sidelines. You got to be tested by God before you can be greatly used by God.
Gotcha. Well, great topic. Great. That would be a sermon series right there, right?
It feels like it, doesn't it? It feels like a sermon series.
I'm looking at the pictures from Forest Springs online here, and it's beautiful.
Forest Springs, Wisconsin?
Yeah, the conference center. Forest Springs Conference Center.
In Wisconsin?
That's it. It's gorgeous. It's a little oasis where you feel like you're near the end of the world. Was
this an interdenominational or a particular church?
Okay, absolutely. And we had folks there somebody drove He and his wife drove 9 hours from central North Dakota to get to us in northern Wisconsin. They came from all over, I guess you'd say, in the northern part of the Midwest.
Right. Well, that does look like a beautiful place. Forest Springs, what is it called? Camp?
Yeah, Camping Conference Center.
In Wisconsin. All right. Well, we have a lot to talk about in the news going on in our country. Fred, what's the leading story?
Well, whilst we slept overnight, the Trump sweep just took place. The House was officially declared belonging to the Republicans overnight. They got that 218 that they needed for the majority. And there are still some counting going on and a few more. But unless anything unforeseen happens, it means that Trump has the White House, Republicans have the Senate, and now Republicans have the House. So as a lot of people are saying, this is a golden opportunity for the Republicans. As we saw in the first rendition of a Trump presidency, he had a lot of problems with his fellow Republicans in the House and the Senate, and he didn't achieve what he wanted to achieve. But there appears to be, at least at this point, a team effort. We have the new Senate Majority Leader, Senator Thune, and over on the House, you have the House Speaker, who are all in saying they back the Trump agenda. So we will wait and see. But right now, the jury has come back on every front, and it is for the Republicans.
So there's no excuses this go around. Shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be any excuses.
Shouldn't be.
From a numbers standpoint.
Yes, from a numbers standpoint, it looks pretty good. But
on the House side, what's the margin between Republicans and Democrats?
I think it's I just looked that up, 218 to 208 at the moment. But as I say, there's several where they're still counting, but it wouldn't make a difference for the Republicans.
221 to 213.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's not a very big margin. That's 8 right there. You've said. Now, one key thing about the House of Representatives is if you are in the majority, which the Republicans will be, number one, Mike Johnson will maintain his job as Speaker of the House, the congressman from Louisiana. And also you get to put, if you're in the majority, you chair every single committee.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You get to appoint the chairman of every single committee in the House of Representatives if you have the majority. But still, you have votes, and votes usually go party, down, not always down party line, but a lot of things go down by the party line. So if the Republicans really need, if they're going to get the legislative agenda passed, they need, 12, 15 vote margin would make them more comfortable in case they lose some of their folks.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Republicans do not want to see what we have seen in the last couple of years with the House Speaker challenges by their own.
No, that's not going to happen. They changed that, I think.
Yeah. Oh, they got rid of that?
Well, that's what the talk was yesterday. I heard on the news. I don't know if they voted on that yet.
Right.
What Fred's talking about for our listeners is, you remember when they ousted Kevin McCarthy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when the Republicans ousted Kevin McCarthy, then as Speaker of the House, Speaker of the House, or was he House minority?
No, he was House Speaker.
Okay, House
you had
Speaker.
it right.
Yeah. They had a rule in place where you could call on a vote on the Speaker's Speaker's position, like with one member of Congress, which was ridiculous in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And so somebody gets mad and they just call for a vote on who the leader is.
Right.
So they changed. I think they either changed that or we're going to change that because that was a ridiculous rule in my opinion. So anyway, the point is that the news is that the Republicans will maintain, albeit a small margin, but they'll be in the majority in the House, the Senate, and, as you said, the White House, a trifecta. Yeah.
We had a discussion in the newsroom about, take a wider shot of all of this. This kind of lends itself to say that Trump it's now Trump's Republican Party for sure, and the party of George Bush and Dick Cheney, and that has passed. The Liz Cheney kind of old school Republican. It is now Trump's party.
Yes. And Ray, I'll get you to comment on this, but go ahead. You want to comment on this?
Well, if I compare the beginning back in 2016 to the beginning here in 2024, it's night and day. Things, I look back and I wonder if Mr. Trump really thought he was going to win the election in 2016 because things just were chaotic there. And that didn't change for quite a while. This time, what I see with the incoming Trump administration, a lot of discipline, a lot of order, the way he has picked out his cabinet and all that. So I think he's off to a great start. But Tim, you're exactly right. This is now the Donald Trump Republican Party, and it will be that for the next 4 years. For another day is a discussion, what's it going to be after 2028? I don't think anybody really knows, but it's his party now, that's for sure.
Oh, no doubt.
Yep. And there's a flip side to all of this, too. What about the Democratic Party? What are they going to do? Right now,
you got advice for them, friend?
They're shooting at each other. Well, I
don't help them.
I tend to agree with some Democrats are saying we really misunderstood where the American people are. You have Democrats saying that this country is a center-right country, and we stopped listening to the common man, common woman, and we instead depended on the elites of Hollywood and others, and that's who we listen to. So there's a lot of soul searching within the Democratic Party, but question's going to be who's going to win. The AOCs, are they going to win and saying this is our party now? Are they actually? I don't see them going back to the Bill Clinton type Democrat Party.
Obama. Yeah, the Obama.
I think Obama's done too.
Yeah.
Because Obama was all in with Vice President Harris.
Well, yeah, and I think what I foresee is that it's going to be many years before they are going to have an opportunity to be back in charge, so to speak, because they have given their party over to the Beto O'Rourke. Also, you got AOC. Those types of people, once you give them a seat at the table, for many years, they would run with Obama, they would run with the Clintons, and then they would meet with them and work on AOC's agenda.
Mm-hmm.
But now, when you've put them as a face to your party, you can't take that away from them, because if you take that away from them, then they're gonna go after you with their. So I think they think their party. I think they realized after this last election that they're gonna have to go back to the drawing boards.
I appreciate the heart you guys have for helping the Democratic Party out. You really want them to figure their way out of this mess that they're in, and I just sense that.
No, I'm enjoying it. I'm watching it unfold, and it's a beautiful thing.
All right, next story, Fred.
Well, we all know that incoming President Donald Trump was in Washington, D.C. yesterday. From the little bit of video we saw at his meeting at the White House with President Biden, they were good buds. You know, welcome back, Donald. It's good to have you back at the White House.
Is that what he said?
Welcome back, Donald. He used that term. Welcome back, Donald.
Do we have that?
We don't have that, but there was a change in attitude from the campaign. Let's put it that way. And incoming President Trump said it was good to be back at the White House. Thank you very much, President Biden. I think we're going to have a smooth transition. It was all kind of nice guy. Mm-hmm. Well, very shortly after that, of course, incoming President Trump met with Republican House members. He met with Senate members. And then he got on his plane to go back to Florida, to Mar-a-Lago. Well, on that plane was Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. Okay, he's getting a free ride back home. But what we didn't expect late yesterday afternoon is that apparently aboard on that flight, a decision was made on who Trump wanted for the next attorney general. And to the surprise, I would say, of most people,
Mm-hmm.
The announcement came that Congressman Matt Gaetz was Trump's choice, Trump's hope to be the next attorney general. Boy, did that explode into a discussion everywhere.
Yeah.
Matt Gaetz, fairly controversial Republican figure. A lot of people had other names that they thought would be the AG choice of President Trump, but that didn't happen. Boy, let me give you some examples of what some people are saying. Former Congressman Trey Gowdy was interviewed this morning on Fox and Friends. He knows Matt Gaetz from his days in the House. He is not a big fan of Matt Gaetz. Here we go. Cut number 3.
Well, less now that he resigned from the House. They were getting ready to drop a scathing report on him. House Ethics Committee had been investigating him for a long time for a lot of things. But I'm sure these senators are going to give him a chance. They're going to want to read that ethics report. They're going to want to read the investigative file that the FBI and DOJ accumulated on him when he was under investigation for sexual-related crimes. So they're going to want to know all of that. I give the president tremendous credit. John Ratcliffe, Mike Waltz, others, absolute A-plus picks. The more you get to know Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard, the more you're going to like her. The more you get to know Matt Gaetz, the less you're going to like him. I'm going to be really surprised if he can get confirmed.
Wow. So that's Trey Gowdy talking about
that? Was Trey Gowdy, one of the more conservative former members of Congress.
Ray, what do you think about all this?
Well, on the one hand, great pick if you want somebody who is going to come in and take hold of a Department of Justice that's completely out of control, that has been weaponized against the political opposition. You need somebody strong, right? You need somebody courageous and strong and a little bit of a, I can't think of the right word to say
Hard
here.
to get along with?
Yes, thank you.
Bull in a china closet type approach.
Something like that. I think the questions Trey Gowdy raised are important about, there is a sexual, somebody help me out here on he's been under investigation
by the
House, right?
Ethics Committee, yes.
Okay. So, and this has to do
with sexual misconduct.
Yeah, that's pretty serious stuff. Now, it ends, I guess, with his resignation, it ends, right?
The investigation ends, yes. Yesterday, when Matt Gaetz was announced as the AG pick by Trump, Gaetz immediately quit his position in the House. So that puts an end to any further investigation. However, as Gowdy points out, when Gaetz comes up for Senate confirmation, the senators are going to have a copy of the report of the Ethics Committee. And they will likely put that forward at the confirmation hearing.
Well, of all the picks that Trump's had so far in his administration, that is the most controversial by far, Matt Gaetz. Now, I don't know Representative Gaetz personally. I think he represents the Panhandle, right? And Tallahassee.
Not sure.
Look up Matt Gaetz'
Gotcha.
district. But anyway, Matt Gaetz is not short on what guts, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
He's very, courageous in the sense that he does what he thinks is right, regardless of who likes him or consequences. What do you got
right
as
there,
far as where
just like you said, west of Panama City all the way over to Alabama?
Yeah, so Matt Gaetz, he represents not Panama City, but like Destin and
that's right, west of, close to
Destin, Fort Walton Beach,
all the way over to the state line,
Pensacola, that area. So it's over there in the Panhandle. Anyway, but I don't know if this is a good choice or not, and I guess we'll have to find out when he does get the confirmation hearings, because Matt Gaetz and all cabinet appointees will have to go before the Senate, and the Senate will have to confirm them. The Senate now will be controlled by the Republicans, 52 or 53 to 47. So you should get all your appointments through. But in this case, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what what happens?
One of those senators who will be looking at Matt Gaetz is Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama. This is what he had to say. Cut 5.
I don't know. You're finding all the swamp creatures coming out right now. Everybody's got an opinion up here, but at the end of the day, President Trump was elected by an enormous vote, and he deserves a team around him that he wants. It's not us to determine that. We've got 53 votes in the Senate. We can confirm with 51.
Yeah, some people are concerned about Republican senators like Susan Collins of Maine and Murkowski of Alaska, who tend to be on the left within the Republican camp. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but if you got 53, like Tuberville's saying there, you got enough to overcome a couple of this people who are going to. That didn't sound like I didn't hear what. That's the only quote I've heard from Tuberville. He didn't sound like to me he was opposed to Gaetz.
His initial response yesterday was a little bit more guarded. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, they probably want to do the hearing, Ray, and then find out.
Well, you got 53, so you have a little cushion, but you got Susan Collins, you got Lisa Murkowski, right? So whether they will stay with President Trump or not, I mean, I think Coach Tuberville, Senator Tuberville,
yeah.
I mean, he's exactly right. The president deserves his team around him, right?
With Trey Gowdy, though, hopefully his only concern is what's going to be found out or not found out, basically on the House Ethics Committee paperwork. Okay, because other than that, and that's depending on where that goes, I may change my mind. But for doing the job of an AG, I don't see Matt Gaetz being a problem there.
Yeah, I would be worried about the federal government targeting me in the near future if my name was Kevin McCarthy. Because Kevin McCarthy and Matt Gaetz hate each other.
That's a fair statement. That's not overstatement.
That's an understatement.
Yeah,
yes, with a capital H.
Yes.
And Matt Gaetz was responsible for taking Kevin McCarthy out,
correct,
basically, as the Speaker of the House. And Trump, I don't know, did Trump ever pick a side in that one? Did he?
I don't remember.
Anyway, so but he has now. he has now. All right, you're listening to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. So Mike Johnson, the congressman from Louisiana, will be the next Speaker of the House, as he has been for the last year, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Senate, John Thune from South Dakota will be the Senate Majority Leader. There. And all right, next story, Fred.
Well, the other big announcement yesterday was kind of a confirmation of what we had heard. Senator Marco Rubio of Florida will be the country's next Secretary of State. And I haven't heard anything negative in the way of response.
He'll sail through.
He will. And here's a little taste of where he stands on the big issues he's going to be dealing with. Cut number 10.
I'm not on Russia's side, but unfortunately the reality of it is that the way the war in Ukraine is going to end is with a negotiated settlement. And we want, and I believe Donald Trump wants, for Ukraine to have more leverage in that negotiation. Hamas exists to destroy the Jewish state of Israel. What are you supposed to do with an existential threat? You have to degrade it or eliminate it. The primary source of violence and instability in the Middle East is not the Israeli-Palestinian question. It is the Iranian involvement. Political figures that grew up over the last 20 years talking about cooperating with China. We saw how that worked out. They took all of our jobs. They took all of our factories. They got rich. We got poor. All we're asking for is for the government of Venezuela to follow its own constitution, hold free and fair elections, and let the people vote for whoever they want.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say there is absolutely no daylight between Marco Rubio and Donald Trump when it comes to their foreign policy.
He'll do a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike Pompeo did a great job for Trump as Secretary of State for 3 years, I think.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So Marco Rubio has a lot of experience, having served in the Senate for, 10 years or more.
He's going to sail through.
Yeah.
He's going to sail through to confirmation. And you listen to him speak. He's well-spoken. He's smart.
Yeah.
He knows the issues. I don't know that Donald Trump could have made a better pick for Secretary of State. He's a very good choice. Very strong.
Of course, now the question is who will take his place in the Senate from the state of Florida.
But that can be an appointment by
Governor DeSantis.
Governor DeSantis.
Yeah, for sure the appointment will be a Republican and will be a conservative Republican. We just don't know who it will be yet.
Mm-hmm.
And as I understand it, whoever replaces Marco Rubio in the Senate from Florida will be there for 2 years, and then they'll have to have that's what's left on Rubio's term, and then there'll have to be an election 2 years from now in Florida to officially name who the senator will be. All right, we're going to take a break right here. Tulsi Gabbard also was given a position in the Trump administration.
Mm-hmm.
Who else yesterday?
Got him right here.
Okay, but we'll do it when we get back.
Sure.
We're going to do it when we get back. Sandy Rios will be on with us momentarily, so stay with us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
Paul had some words for us in the book of Romans, for we shall all stand before the judgment seat of God. 4-year-old Allison Hahn complained to her parents one day that her stomach hurt. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Terry Hahn of Hornchurch, England, took Allison to the doctor for examination. Well, the doctor came back from making the x-ray of Allison's stomach and explained to Mr. and Mrs. Hahn why her stomach hurt. The doctor told the girl's parents that she had swallowed 28 beads, a dog's bone, 3 plastic toy bricks, a deflated balloon, a toy dog, 8 coins, some birdseed, sand, and leaves. You know, I would imagine that if you had all of that in your stomach, you'd have a stomach ache also. Now, the story about little Allison might startle us, or we might even find a touch of humor in it. But there's a higher truth which the incident brings to mind. We're created, you see, in a certain way. The organs of our body are made to perform certain duties. Put food in our stomach and we get energy to perform our work, to run our brain, build our body. But fill that same stomach with junk, beads, bones, toy bricks, deflated balloons, toy dogs, coins, birdseed, sand, and leaves, and you'll come up with a tummy ache. Can we now move to another step, just a little bit higher? Man has about his makeup another part. We call it his spirit. Nurture that spirit with love and devotion and dedication, and it'll grow and give us the energy to perform countless good deeds for ourselves, our fellow men, and our Creator. But fill that spiritual side of us with junk, booze, filthy reading, selfish greed, prejudice, indifference, hatred, jealousy, and you'll come up with a spirit that has a spiritual tummy ache. No man with average intelligence would dare feed a child of his, or even himself, such objects as beads or bones, toy bricks, coins, balloons, and the like. And yet the same man willingly offers his soul only a diet of filthy reading, profane speech, indifference, and all the other junk which will kill the soul. And the diet he offers to his children oftentimes is no better. Our lives can get so cluttered up with things that have no lasting significance that we lose sight of those things which are most important. Eternity. You know, few people think seriously of it anymore. The only thing important is the here and now. I can hear a few people saying, "Don't come around me with this carpenter bit, preacher. I have a house, a good car, a good job, money in the bank, booze in the cooler, and bets on the horses, so don't bug me, preacher. I have everything I need. Well, maybe you do have everything you need. Maybe you do not. I'll not argue the point. But how about tomorrow? When it comes, and it comes once to everybody, will you have everything you need? Eternity may seem like a long way off, but somehow it manages to get around to us, to all of us.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
In Him, we were also chosen, having been predestined according to the plan of Him who works out everything in conformity with the purpose of His will. Ephesians 1:11.
American Family Radio. This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues. We're going to go to Sandy Rios momentarily. Before we do that, the big story in pop culture, and we don't cover pop culture very much here on this program. We don't have time for it, but there's a boxing match tomorrow between Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson, baby, 58 years old, my man.
Mike Tyson's coming in for the AARP crowd, and in the other ring, and on the other side of the ring is a YouTuber who's
turned boxer
named Jake Paul. How old is he, Wesley?
He's 27 years old.
Okay, 27 years old. So this is father-son deal, basically, in terms of age.
This has got to be as much about entertainment as it is actual sport.
Well, that they want eyeballs. Is this Netflix? Who's doing this? Netflix?
I think it is Netflix.
That's right. Netflix is doing it, and it's tomorrow. I'm not seeing the time. I'm guessing it'll be a prime time afternoon slot.
I'm sorry. This is geriatric ward takes on daycare center.
Well, okay. This to me, this screen it's a coup for Netflix because they'll get a huge viewership, or I don't know.
Paul's expected to make around $40 million, and Tyson's expected to make around $20 million.
Okay.
Not bad.
This is retirement money for.
Well, what I was going to say was this kind of thing usually means that the older person is out of money. Mike Tyson,
very possibly
Mike
true.
Tyson may be broke and he needs some money, so you get back out there in the ring and take your hits from a guy 25 years younger, whatever it is,
half his age.
I would. Mike Tyson, Iron Mike is what they called him. I mean, in his heyday, about a 10-year run, he was like
unstoppable. I mean, he hit you, you were going down.
Yeah. But now I'm just scared for him. If he gets hit, he dies in the ring. I mean,
that's the reason some people are going to watch tomorrow, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's gladiators,
Yeah.
Modern day gladiators. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Well, Jake Paul better tape up his ears because
That's right. Pin them back with some duct tape.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, that's boxing. Professional boxing has been known for its spectacles.
Yes.
Over its history, and this is a spectacle.
For sure.
So anyway, I just worry for Mike Tyson's.
Well, Paul,
they're going to have the EMT guys there right by there.
But you know what? For $20 million, you'd roll the $20 million. A lot of people would roll the dice on whether or not they're going to get a lethal knockout punch. I think.
Yeah, if it was me, round two.
Okay,
I'd take a look at the mat at that point.
Okay, you mean just taking a dive? Okay,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I took my beating, and now I want my paycheck. Right?
Yeah, I got a little blood over the eye here. See, I tried.
Yeah, I tried. All right.
There are going to be 8 rounds instead of 10.
No, there ain't. I'm sorry. It's going to be about 2, maybe 3.
Who are you picking? Give us a round then. Who are you picking, Tim?
Me, I'm going to go with the young guy. I mean, 25 years is.
They have modified the rules here.
Oh, what? How's that?
What?
They're 2 minutes instead of 3-minute rounds.
Okay.
8 rounds instead of 10. There's
okay,
14
so
ounce.
they're bending the rules to help the old guy.
That's right. Both fighters will wear bigger gloves, 14-ounce gloves versus 10-ounce gloves.
So this really isn't a traditional boxing match. This is a show.
I don't see. That's what I see.
Because if it's not the normal rules, they've amended them to make it safer for Mike Tyson. I think
it sure sounds.
That's
like
what I think.
Yeah.
But, anyway, all right. You're listening to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Well, one person I want to know what they think of the new Trump administration's team he's assembling is Sandy Rios. Sandy is host of the podcast Sandy Rios 24/7, a very popular podcast here at American Family Radio. And Sandy joins us now. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning, Tim. And you thought I didn't know anything about boxing, right?
Well, hey, lay it out for us. What's your...
My dad made us watch boxing every Friday night when I was a kid.
Wow.
That's what we watched in our home, yes.
That explains a lot.
That's where Sandy got her fighting spirit from.
Yeah, there you
Watching.
go.
Was that yeah, so every Friday night at your home, growing up, you'd watch boxing. That's funny.
It was. You know what? It was either Friday or Saturday. Friday night might have been the hit parade. I got to think about it. Yeah,
Friday or Saturday.
My dad loved boxing. Yeah. So there you go.
All right. So Sandy, you know a lot of people in Washington D.C. and leadership in the Republican Party and so forth. What do you make? I'm just giving you. What do you make of the overall early? We've only got about a quarter or a third of the administration's picks in terms of like cabinet positions and so forth. What do you think about it?
Well, I'm excited. I have to tell you, Tim. I'll just give a few names. I wasn't so excited about Tulsi Gabbard because I know her past, and I'm just my ear has been up always with her. But I think that she's on this D&I nomination. She's going to be good. You know, they actually ended up surveilling her because she was a Democrat who was not faithful to the party line. So they put her under surveillance. The deep state did. Yep. So she's got motivation to get in there and really clean it up. And then I am, of course, excited about Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy getting in and making government smaller. I mean, they're going to be a force of nature. I mean, and our government agencies, I think it's really hard for people to comprehend, but it's like a government, like a city, like a country unto itself. It's tens of thousands of people, all making six figures at least. Even now in D.C., they're this is not true of every agency, but a lot of them haven't gone back to work since COVID. They're still working from home. They're getting tons of money, huge benefits. This is going to be fun. I just can't wait, honestly, to see them rooted out. And I think Elon sent out a text message or a tweet or an X, whatever, to a government worker saying, accomplished today. Just a very simple sentence. So what have you done today? Because they're going to be checking in on everyone. So that's just incredible. I don't think we have any idea how much that will improve our government. And also, this is not an appointment, but President Trump's intention to move these agencies out of Washington is just incredible.
Oh yeah, I hope he follows through on that, and that can be I don't know what all. It's a big, monumental task, but I hope they'll get started right away, whatever the process is there. What do you think about Matt Gaetz being the Attorney General? There's some controversy there.
Well, I was saving that one for last.
Okay.
So I'll go right there. I am thrilled. Honestly, Tim, think of it this way. First of all, if you don't remember, pull up the interrogations Matt Gaetz has given of the Attorney General. I was just watching one, the sitting Attorney General. He is a force of nature. Also, Chris Wray, when they come before the Judiciary Committee for hearings, he has been relentless. He's skilled. He's brilliant. And I think of, our Justice Department is probably vies for the most corrupt agency we have now. It's not, it would be a difficult contest. But I can tell you that I think they're scared to death of Matt Gaetz.
You think?
Matt will be relentless. And it reminds me, this is what it reminds me of. Reminds me of that passage in Ezekiel where God says, Son of man, I'm sending you to a people who, it's your people, but they won't listen. But whether they listen or they don't listen, you must speak the truth. And then God says, I'm going to make your forehead harder than their forehead. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Your forehead is going to be harder than theirs. And so I think Matt Gaetz' forehead is going to be harder than all of those really, they are leftists of the worst type. J. Christian Adams did a whole expose when Barack Obama was president on who he was nominating for justice, and they've been there now for, 15 years? They're names you wouldn't recognize. Look, this is some will consider this a racist statement, but it's just a fact that they're not American-born. Their names are Bugugi Bagabagi. It's just, and they're Marxists. And he appointed hundreds of them. And that's who's in the Justice Department. They're not lovers of America. They don't even know anything about real justice. They come from places where that's kind of unheard of. It's the powerful government can do what it wants to the people, and that's what they've been doing. I'm thrilled. That Matt Gaetz is going to be our Attorney General.
And just for the record, repeat the names of the people in Justice Department. Magooey, did you say Mr. Magoo? What did you say?
Oh no, that's much too clear.
Okay.
You know what? I should look at that article by J. Christian, and you'll see exactly what I mean.
Yeah, I understand. No, I understand. Well, listen. Hey, if you like Matt Gaetz as a pick there, I like Matt Gaetz as far as his tenacity and his fearlessness and the very
courage.
The very things you said. I guess mine is sometimes I don't care when people publicly get up in somebody else's face, and that doesn't make it wrong or right. It's just the manners, I guess, and but that doesn't mean sometimes you got to do that, and it may look bad publicly in terms of the manners, as I say, but it may be the right thing to do. So, listen, go ahead. That's a hard job he's going to be faced with, and you're right on these committee hearings that he's been in. Speaker, I mean, he just goes right for the jugular. Go ahead.
Well, they've tried. One of the reasons he's so hated is because he was very much involved in getting Kevin McCarthy out of the speakers. And I love that. I wanted Kevin out because he's corrupt like Mitch McConnell. So I don't have a problem with that. And then they brought ethics charges, and I don't know, I'm sure he's not a Sunday school teacher, but I don't really think those didn't really stick either. So I have, and I would also point out that God, through the period of time we've been alive, and even in Scripture, God uses unusual people to do incredible things. He doesn't. We Christians, for some reason, we like to live in a box where people have to meet certain qualifications for our comfort, and so God uses, like He used Rahab the harlot to be. She was a descendant of Jesus.
Yeah,
and she wasn't. He uses unusual people to accomplish His will in this world, and He has His hands on people who don't really acknowledge Him. Many times, and we think it's so bad because they do this or that, but I think we just make God too small. And that's where I think Elon Musk, heaven knows spiritually, and also Vivek Ramaswamy, can't be sure, but these are disruptors who are necessary. See, people like us, Tim, won't do that because we are from Christian culture.
Right.
We're just what you said. That wouldn't be nice. And God, I don't think God thinks that way, first of all. Nevertheless, that's the way our culture thinks. And so these people are necessary disruptors to the wickedness that's going on in our country. Well, and I find myself, I'm getting excited. I'm going
to second that.
Okay. Well, listen, guys, if this is the fan club for rude pagans, then
that's right here.
That need to take over in order for things to be accomplished.
What you want.
I'm going to be cheering y'all on over here. Listen, I'm just kidding. Listen, one of the reasons, Ray, maybe not the only one of the reasons President Trump, President-elect Trump, formerly President Trump, was picked in the Republican Party in 16 was because of what Sandy's talking about. That is, he was not business as usual. You know, he was not, quote, the establishment. He was a disruptor. He had new ideas, and he was bold, and he ran away. Well, I don't know if he ran away. Well, pretty much he ran away with the nomination, and then of course this time he ran away with the nomination too, beating DeSantis and Nikki Haley handily, and they were pretty popular figures in the Republican Party. But he just pulled away and blew them out, and so here he is, Donald Trump, back again for Donald Trump, Rocky IV, right? This is Donald Trump 2. And Ray, he's going to be, it appears like Sandy's talking about, this is take no prisoners in terms of his appointments. He's not going for people who have been there forever just because they're in line to have the job.
Right.
He's going for people that are disruptors who are going to make a difference. Go ahead.
Well, number one, he started very quickly, which I think is all to his credit. 2016, we've already said, it was just a chaotic beginning, but clearly he had in mind exactly what he wanted to do. He's naming them. We're getting new names every day. Tremendous. But, Sandy, I want to ask you about Marco Rubio at the State Department. Two questions. Number one, were you surprised, and what do you think about that pick?
Well, the only reason I wasn't surprised is because it was a bit of buzz around. I'm not crazy about that pick. But I'm just going to be look. We're facing a time we're not going to be happy with a lot of the things that we see happening. President Trump has brought in people who will not be like us, and that's part of the disruption. So with the disruption, there's going to be some downsides. I think I hope. Look, when Marco Rubio started out, I was his number one fan. He was from a Cuban background, understood persecution, communism, and he's eloquent and passionate. But from my perspective, the longer he stayed there, the more compromised he became. And from Florida, I could just tell you, he is not. He doesn't pay attention to constituents. He got pretty involved with the military complex, and I think he did pretty well. He came in, so that bothers me. And but I know that he's capable of really fighting when he puts his mind to it. And so we'll just hope and pray that he'll be verbally able to handle all these people. So
what you see, I think overall with President Wesley, you can comment on this, President Trump's picks so far, and I guess he's at about a third of his administration. He keeps naming people every day. So he's got about a third of them out there. Of course, they won't be confirmed yet till the Senate, till January. But the common thread here to me, Wesley, is all these people are loyal and to Trump, and they're personal friends of his, and he's been around them a lot, so that he's not going to pick people like he did last time.
Yes, and another way of looking at it is they're not all necessarily next in line either, too.
No, they're not.
And so you're getting some fresh blood there. Now, I know this is not necessarily a cabinet, or not. I know it's not a cabinet pick, but Stephen Miller is probably one of my favorite picks that he has for Deputy Chief of Staff for policy. What do you think about that pick, Sandy?
Oh, I totally agree. And he's got the other guy that's working with him, and I can't even think of his name, but he's also fabulous. Mm-hmm. I don't know about his chief of staff. She was Susie Wiles. I don't know. The jury's out on her. Some people, I hear criticism that she's, but I actually think she's more conservative than Chris LaCivita, who was the co-chairman. I'm glad Chris wasn't appointed to that. I think at least that. So we'll see. Yeah. But no, I think Stephen is great, and I think they're going to be bringing in, I'm just telling you, this is a heads up, Russ Vaught for Department OMB, Office of Management and Budget.
We know that. You don't have to. We knew what that was.
No.
OMB, like we don't know.
It's a vast, agency, but it controls a lot of the processes, and Russ is fabulous at that. McConnell would not confirm him. It was like 2 years before he got in. He got in late in the Trump administration, but he's a Wheaton College grad, but he's a real rock star in D.C. for his.
Yeah.
He led the charge to do away with all the agency rules and regulations, and they stripped down, thousands of rules in these agencies that make people's lives hard.
Talking to Sandy Rios. Excuse me, talking to Sandy Rios from the podcast Sandy Rios 24/7, which you need to download and listen to. Sandy has all kind of excellent interviews and information. She knows what's going on in and around our nation's capital and otherwise. So go to Sandy Rios 24/7. Just go to afr.net, click on podcast, and then the banner with Sandy's picture and the name of the show will be there, and you can listen to her podcast 3 times a week. Sandy does her podcast show. One other question I had for you, Sandy, before we let you go here is you have been on top of the story involving the folks in prison in Washington known as the J6ers, the January 6ers. And what is going to happen to these folks? Will President Trump pardon them the first hour he's in office? Go ahead.
Well, I don't think anybody really knows exactly how that's going to happen, but he did promise it over and over again. And I talked to Mike Davis in it should probably air. What day is today? I don't even know. It might air tomorrow. Mike Davis was being discussed for Attorney General. He's Article 3 project. He is the head of that. Anyway, Mike's been on television. Everybody has seen Mike if they watch news on television.
Yeah.
But I asked Mike about this because he's very interested in this too. He does not want to be AG. He doesn't want to be that. But he's very involved in this, and I asked him if he thought, I do think President Trump will do this, but I asked Mike if he thought so, and he said yes. But I don't see, there's different kinds of pardons, and there's so many of them because they've, I think, convicted, I may have this wrong. It's like 700 or 1,700, depending on how you count who. But many of them are still in prison. And so I'm rooting for a complete pardon for all of them. Really, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, do you know how many of them are still in prison?
I think it's look, I'm not the gold standard on that, Tim, but I think it's 700. I'm 700 something. It's hard to keep track because they're all over the country now. They're not in one location.
Well, listen, I don't know all the detail. You know more than I do, Sandy, and you're saying you don't know maybe as much as you would like to know on this whole story. But I'll just say this, just looking broadly and generally at what happened on January 6th, we all know that 4 years ago, that was a shameful this is my opinion, okay? That was a shameful moment in our country's history in the sense that people storming the Capitol building. Now, I know people say, well, they let them in. Well, you knew, come on. You knew better than to go inside. I don't care if they did pull back the gates. And again, I'm speaking for Tim here, okay? If you're a grown adult and you're in the Capitol and you go into the Capitol and they're in session like this, you're not there for a tour, okay? So anyway, but the punishment in the punishment fits the crime category. This is absurd what has happened to these folks, as Sandy is so well documented. And so I short of having you on video physically assaulting a police officer, which even that has degrees of punishment, he should let them all go. There should be, maybe that's just isn't that what you're saying, Sandy? He should pardon them all. Go ahead.
I would be very happy with that because I think it's a complex situation. I believe it was a riot, and I don't think they went to storm the Capitol. I think it actually happened that way. And remember, there were lots of plants in that crowd. FBI plants.
Yeah.
We believe Antifa was dressed as Trump supporters. Because of Trump supporters at all these rallies, you've never seen them. They don't even leave trash on the ground when they leave. They're not violent, and they're not against the police. But the police actually did turn on the crowd. We had different kinds of police there. A lot of them were from D.C. City Police. One of them was a female cop who beat Roseanne Boylan to death. And so that's when people around there got mad, and that's the fighting the police, when they saw them mistreating people. So it's not simple, but we have more video now to prove different points than Ashley Babbitt, who, I mean, I could go on and on, but Ashley Babbitt was murdered.
She died, yeah.
Yeah, so, but yes, I'd like to see them pardoned very much, Tim.
I do too. Yeah, just let them pardon them all and be done with it. Even if they done something bad, like punched a police officer, which I think is terrible, 4 years is enough, okay? 4 years is enough. Good night. Look at all the criminals that run free in our cities today because the DAs don't do anything to them. They don't even have cash bail. And you're putting people in jail for 4 years for
trespassing.
Trespass? Yeah, I mean, just ridiculous.
And they're in pretrial detention. A lot of them haven't even had trials.
Right.
And some of those guys have been sentenced to 21 years.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Sandy. Appreciate it very much. Take care.
You're welcome. Talk to you soon.
Okay,
bye.
When we get back, you can talk about the Activate Summit coming up this summer.
Sounds good.
All right, Fred, thank you.
You're welcome.
Chris Woodward will be with us momentarily. Ray will be back. Wesley and I will be back. We'll see you in 5 minutes.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
When you hear us mention the AFR app, you probably think about your smartphone. We do have apps for Apple and Android users, but it doesn't stop there. If you have an Alexa, we've got you covered. But wait, there's more. Sorry. There's also an AFR app for Roku or Apple TV. So many ways you can listen to your favorite show, podcast, or music. Find out more at afr.net/apps.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. The head of the UN's nuclear watchdog says chances to constrain Iran's nuclear ambitions are slimming. Eben Brown reports.
The chief of the International Atomic Energy Agency is warning that Iran is ever closer to being able to build a nuclear weapon, and that despite the agency's attempts to slow that down, both it and the Iranian regime remain at odds. Iran hasn't allowed the agency to inspect its nuclear development sites ever since President Trump ended the U.S. involvement in the previous arrangement. Both Iran and the IAEA now say his re-election and the conflict with Israel could upend things. Iran's nuclear program is nearing the ability to refine uranium to weapons-grade purity.
The trial for the illegal alien charged with the murder of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley is set to officially begin on Friday. Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr says he believes the Biden administration's border policies are to blame for Riley's death.
It started when Ibarra was caught at the border and released. And we, Republican attorneys general, sued the Biden administration to make them stop the catch and release policy. And again, they just kept coming back and doing it.
The House GOP caucus is set to make changes to the rules that led to former Speaker McCarthy's ouster.
The motion to vacate can be triggered by just one member and force a vote to remove the Speaker of the House. The moderate-leaning House Main Street Caucus and Conservative Freedom Caucus have reached a deal to raise the threshold from just one member to 9. In exchange, Main Street Caucus Chair Dusty Johnson says proposed rules to punish members who remove a speaker will be dropped.
Because of this agreement, we are in a better position to move forward the Republican agenda.
Former Speaker McCarthy was removed through a motion to vacate, and Speaker Johnson also faced an ouster attempt. On Capitol Hill, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
A radio host and former attorney for Donald Trump thinks that the president's pick for Attorney General has brought strong and polarizing reaction on social media. Chad Groening has more.
Trump has nominated Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz to become the nation's highest-ranking law enforcement officer. In picking a loyalist, the president-elect passed over some of the more established attorneys whose names had been mentioned as being contenders for the job. In the statement, Trump said, quote, Matt will end weaponized government, protect our borders, dismantle criminal organizations, and restore Americans' badly shattered faith and confidence in the Justice Department. Former Trump attorney Jenna Ellis hosts Jenna Ellis in the Morning on American Family Radio.
This was a pick that just kind of came out of left field and was not on the short list that everyone was expecting, that included some of the more prestigious lawyers with a lot of career track record in litigation. So why Matt Gaetz? And the reaction from social media has been very strong and very polarizing, which is very Donald Trump, honestly. So it's kind of like, well, he's back.
And Ellis says as for the pros and cons,
of course, the cons are saying that Matt Gaetz is a flimsy choice. He's not qualified. This is a joke, those sorts of reactions. And then on the pro side, it's all about draining the swamp and saying if you want to get rid of these DOJ kind of elites and the people who are the career politicians that are within the DOJ, then of course put someone like Matt Gaetz in, who himself has been a target of lawfare.
and Ellis thinks it will be a very difficult confirmation process for Matt Gaetz. I'm Chad, groaning.
The latest inflation readings appear to confirm there's still work to do to stabilize prices. Jenny Casola reports.
Some readings on prices at the wholesale level were higher than expected in October, though the producer price index rose 0.2% over September and up 0.3, excluding food and energy as expected. For the year ending in October, prices rose 2.4%, and core PPI excluding food and energy rose 3.1%. Inflation measured by the PPI peaked at 11.7% in March of 2022. The consumer price index for October matched expectations, though the annual CPI rose slightly to 2.6%. Jenny Cosola, Fox News.
More news online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
The American Family Association's mission is to inform, equip, and activate individuals to strengthen the moral foundations of our culture. We also support the church. Our goal is to be a leading organization in biblical worldview training for cultural transformation. AFA aims to evangelize the lost and disciple the believer. We aim to strengthen biblical marriages and equip parents to raise godly children.
Thank you for standing with the American Family Association.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim with Wesley and Ray, and now joining us in studio is Chris Woodward. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Wesley, you wanted to mention a conference coming up next summer that we're hosting?
Activate Summit 2025. Activate Summit 2025 is now open for registration. There's a 20% discount for early bird special. That will end January 1st. So you're going to want to get on there as soon as you can and register.
What is this conference about? When is it, and what's it about?
It is June the 12th through the 14th. We're looking forward to that. We're going to host it here in our hometown at a conference center here at our hometown. And the topic is going to be biblical authority and the efficiency of Scripture and building. It's our building block. It's where we start all our conversations. It's where we start all of our worldview. And we are going to have guest speakers, keynote speakers such as Abraham Hamilton III, Todd Herman, Alex McFarland, Frank Turek, and your very own Today's Issue host, Ed Vitagliano. So he will be with us as well. We also will have some panel.
So all men?
No, actually, now that you pointed that out, we have women who will participate in the panel discussion. So we have a handful.
So we're relegating them to the panel discussion.
At that,
I just want people to know.
Can I make you happy?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just trying to look at this politically correct lens. Go ahead. So.
No, there's a handful of women that will participate in our panel discussion. Jenna Ellis will be one of them as well. And so, but
listen,
that didn't have to be part of the conversation.
I know.
But
listen, this is a excellent panel of speakers we're going to have at this conference, and it's going to be Ed Vitagliano.
Yep.
Abraham Hamilton III. Todd Herman will be here from Idaho. Todd's going to fly in, and so if you want to meet Todd Herman in person, you can come to Tupelo.
And
next
simultaneously,
summer.
while this is going on, while the conference is going on,
For the
simultaneously for the adults, we'll have Activate Kids, which will also for ages 6 through 12. Ages 6 through 12, they'll also have a program that's the same content, but in the form for children. So we're looking
A
forward
lot
to that.
of people don't want their kids activated.
I know, right?
So I would say you might want to change that. No, okay, what this is overall is a biblical worldview training conference featuring some of the best speakers in America. Many of them are familiar to you. Alex McFarland, Frank
AFA's
Turek,
conference.
Abraham Hamilton, Ed Battagliano, Todd Herman. It's going to be dynamic, and it's going to have a children's track. That's the
right.
point. It's going to have it, so it's for the whole family. So again, Wesley, if people want to look into that, what do they need to do?
Activate.afa.net. That's activate.afa.net. There's a tab that says Summit, and there's a bar at the top. Also, by the way, I don't think this adds just a whole lot of value, but I'll be emceeing it. So
okay,
looking for that'll be my role. So I'm helping myself and the team at AFA. There's 15 or 20 of us working on this every week, and between the team and myself emceeing it, there's a lot of people working real hard on this to make it as best as we can. So,
all right, Ray, you were going to say?
Well, number one, this is a tremendous conference. That's a Wesley. That's a 5-star lineup of speakers. And I want to second the notion you said. If we're talking about grounding young people, families in the Word of God for today's world, we got to do this. We got to know why we believe the Bible and what it says. So, congratulations on this, and folks, if you're looking for a way. And Wesley, this is not just for young people; it's for all ages, basically.
That's right, all ages. So we'll have families with parents and children. We'll have grandparents. We'll have aunts and uncles. We'll even have some college students as well. This comes from the Activate curriculum that we launched back on July the 1st, I believe it was. We launched AFA created a curriculum for worldview training called Activate, and we covered 5 core areas. Obviously Scripture, and then also we went from there. We covered religious liberty, life, marriage and family, and stewardship. And in addition to that, we wanted to have our first conference based on the Word of God, and from there, the conferences in the future will be the other 4. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, what are you laughing?
I'm laughing at something else.
Totally different. Okay.
That's right. All right. So
activate.afa.net, and you can go there. I thought you were laughing at God's Word. I was like,
no, I'm not laughing. I was laughing at something I was reading while you were
Be not
talking.
deceived. God is not mocked.
Live radio, you get some of that. Okay, so I'm excited about this because we're working hard on it, and we want you to know about it. There's 20% discount for the early bird special, so go sign up.
Okay.
So tell us what's going on.
Well,
in your
I was
world.
reading what John Fetterman, the Democrat senator from Pennsylvania, said about the about the naming of Matt Gaetz of Florida to be Trump's attorney general.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what he said. I just found it humorous. What he said, John Fetterman, of course, the Democrat, he said about Trump making this announcement, quote, "It's just kind of like a God tier kind of trolling, just to trigger a meltdown," is what he's saying. And I thought that's pretty much pretty much right on. Yeah. I mean, Trump picked Matt Gaetz because he thinks he can do the best job of what he wants to accomplish, but it's also trolling the left in a make them. Their hair's on fire.
Yes.
It
provokes them to say.
Oh gosh!
I have posted what Tim just mentioned on the Today's Issues.
So John Fetterman, that is a funny quote. He said, "It's just kind of like God tier, kind of trolling, just to trigger a meltdown." So I think that's funny. Anyway, go ahead, Chris. What do you got?
Well, speaking of meltdown, many people on the liberal side of media have been criticizing various Trump picks, saying this person's not fit, this person's a terrible choice. And our own Abe Hamilton III criticized the media for criticizing Trump picks.
Abe did?
Trump, yes, Abe did.
Criticize the media?
He criticized the talking snake media, as Abe calls them, for criticizing Trump picks, but never having negative word to say about many of the people that Biden picked to serve in the Biden administration. Don't take my word for it. Here's one example of last night's program, clip 16.
The lying Goebbels Inc. media seriously as they go into conniption fits over whoever, President Trump nominates. This is not a good nominee. You literally had a man in a dress telling me he's the head of the Department of Health and Human Services. What's old boy's name? Y'all find it for me real quick. Levine. That's
Richard.
His mama named him Richard Levine. I'm calling him Richard Levine. I don't hear nothing they have to say about who is and who's not qualified to be in administration. You literally have the department that is entrusted with understanding biology, and you got a man in a dress.
Yeah, Abe.
You have another one of his high cabinet members. What's the dude's name? He likes to wear dresses and heels, and he has a bald head. He was stealing women's luggage.
There you go.
Yeah. Well,
That's fair.
Abe slipped back to his basketball trash talking New Orleans street days.
It would be activate
right
Speaker
there.
Abraham Hamilton III.
Yeah,
that's right.
That was
That's
funny.
right.
But
That's
Abe was
right.
just
Tell us what you really think, Abe. Don't
Abe
hold
was
back.
just sharing from his heart.
Yeah,
that's all he was doing, sharing from his heart. A great analysis and points there by Abe. The Biden administration.
As far as qualifications go.
Listen, there were more than that. There were some wackadoodles that he had leading his administration. Not all of them, but just they were steeped in that diversity, equality, inclusion stuff, and they had, like he said, was it Health and Human Services?
Mm-hmm.
That the Richard Levine, the man who dresses up like a woman.
He wasn't the head of HHS,
Right.
but he was a high-ranking official.
Good points there by Abe. Next story, Steve. Chris.
Yeah, you can call me whatever you want.
Yeah.
As long as you pay me.
Don't pay me.
It's I threw out there yesterday. All right, I've got another soundbite here. Now, while liberal media types are criticizing Trump picks, a few governors are already trying to get an organization going where Democrats are vowing to fight President-elect Trump on all the other things he's going to do once he enters office here. But not all Democrats are in lockstep agreement that this is a good idea. One example is a guy named Will Pierce. Now, Will Pierce is a former advisor to the Biden campaign. He also worked on Bernie Sanders campaigns. And Will Pierce was on Fox and Friends this morning, and he and Ainsley Earhardt of Fox and Friends think this is a bad idea from these governors. Clip 13.
President Trump hasn't even been elected or inaugurated into office yet, and here these governors coming out against him automatically. Overall, I just think that they should be respecting the will of the constituents. For example, in Illinois, 44% of the state voted for Trump. Colorado, 43% voted for Trump.
Exactly.
And now you have these governors coming out and they're saying, oh no, we're going to oppose. They don't even know what the administration is going to be doing yet. They're just sitting here and they're just trying to get their campaign ready for the next presidential.
I agree with you. Well, when we reached out to both of the governor's offices, they just sent us the press releases. They're not going to get the support from the Republican governors. What's your response to that? Have you heard behind the scenes there are Republican governors that are, wanting this playbook?
Absolutely not.
So, again, Democrat governors are already vowing to fight the guy who's not even president yet once he enters office here. Yeah.
Wow, that's surprising.
And you have one Democrat saying, don't do this, it's a bad idea. And I think there is evidence to back him up on that. I just saw an op-ed this morning from David Harsanyi, who has written for various things, including The Federalist and National Review. And he said the reason why Democrats lost is because you ran on weird.
Yeah. Ray, it's going to be interesting to see who emerges as the leader of the Democrat Party in the next few months.
You were quoting Fetterman, who we all were, I don't know. He went through that period there, John Fetterman, right, from Pennsylvania. Yet I think his approach of not being so negative about the Trump administration, at least complimenting them where he can, I think that's going to play a lot better than governors like Newsom, right? Who are saying, we're going to stop Mr. Trump. We're going to oppose him if he tries to do anything in this state. I think that's the wrong way to go. This was an overwhelming victory for the Republicans and for Mr. Trump.
Yeah.
It was the first time in 40 years that places that have been blue for our lifetimes, Wesley and I's lifetime, it was the first time places like California had a lot of red votes since 1984. New York had a lot of red votes.
Hey, by the way, I don't know. I sent you guys an article from the New York Post from about 4 or 5 days ago about how the Jewish vote went in America on election night, or the results came in on election night. Jews typically vote for Democrats, and of course the Jewish vote in the state of New York is really big because so many Jews live there. And also they live in South Florida. A lot of Jews live in South Florida and other places, Boston. But the Jews, Ray, normally vote Democrat right down the line. And they were saying, the story was that I wish I had if you look up New York Post and how did the Jews vote, it might come up for you, the numbers. But anyway, the point was that the Jews voted more for Republicans this time than ever before, Ray.
I'm not surprised because, number one, the Democrats have been playing fast and loose and footsie with AOC and the left-wingers and the pro-Hamas crowd in the Democratic Party. President Trump is a friend of Israel. He's the one who moved the embassy to Jerusalem. And let's face it, what we've seen from Biden and Kamala Harris has just been disastrous for the nation of Israel. I think they know who their friends are, and they know that in the end, Donald Trump is going to stand up for Israel.
So the Jews in America, now many of them are secular; they're not religious. But they know anti-Semitism is hatred against Jews, and the people who hate Jews don't care whether they're religious or not. They hate Jews because they exist. And that has given that's a problem on the left in America today, if you look at it. And so you got Jews also on the left, but going, man, I can't continue to partner with people who hate me, even if I agree with them on politics otherwise. And so I think that's what's happened. Go ahead, Chris. Did you find that story?
Well, I found a New York Post story, and it talks about how it was a big issue in Pennsylvania, for example, where Josh Shapiro was picked over for Governor Tim Walz.
Yes, that's the story. I think that's the story. It was about 5 or 6 days ago.
Yes.
It was on the New York Post. And, one of the points was that the reason people think Harris, I say people think, I sound like Trump, some people say, that Harris did not pick Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, who would have helped her win Pennsylvania, maybe, and maybe win the presidency, maybe, would have been better than Walz from Minnesota, who the Democrats already had Minnesota in the bag. But the reason he wasn't picked was because he was a Jew. There's a lot of speculation in that regard because he was considered a superior vice presidential pick than Walz.
Yeah, but if she had picked Shapiro, I think we'd be having a different conversation.
Yeah, I mean,
today.
very easily could have. Go ahead, Ray, you were going to say?
Well, you're talking about what I'm looking at the actual returns here from Pennsylvania. It's about 7 million votes, and Donald Trump's ahead by, it's Trump won Pennsylvania, but out of 7 million votes, his lead is about 100 and, if I'm reading this right, about 106,000, 107,000.
Yeah.
Josh Shapiro's pretty popular in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. He could have flipped that.
Pretty popular. That's a small margin out of 7 million votes. If he had carried Pennsylvania, who knows what the rest of the blue wall would have done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think conservatives are saying, hey, we're glad with Tim Walz.
Oh, yeah. Well, next story, Chris.
Let's do. I'm gonna update our listeners on something we have been covering for a very long time.
Do we have any
now.
update music? Update.
We do now.
We have
We'll get MC Wesley on.
We have an update. Over to Chris Woodward for the update.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Okay.
I have an update now on a story involving a young man named Liam Morrison. Now, Liam Morrison, a few years ago, made national headlines when he showed up for his 7th grade class in the state of Massachusetts wearing a T-shirt saying, "There are only 2 genders." His school district told him, "You can't wear that." And they sent him home, and he, long story short, ended up lawyering up with Alliance Defending Freedom that has long been in court ever since, fighting for his First Amendment free speech rights. One of the attorneys there at ADF, or Alliance Defending Freedom, has pointed out to me several times now that the school district does allow things like LGBT pride T-shirts with LGBT messages, but they will not allow Liam to wear a T-shirt that says there are only two genders. The update with this story is ADF, after having lost at the federal district court level and the appeals court level, ADF is now going to the U.S. Supreme Court to try to get this Supreme Court to take up Liam's case. He's now in a different school system. He's gotten older, but he still has an argument to go to court over. And so ADF has gone to the Supreme Court. They have a brief with the support of about 18 states and a whole bunch of free speech advocates. And in this soundbite that I'm going to air here, it's attorney Logan Spina talking about why this case matters, and everybody listening to the sound of our voices should pay attention to Liam's case. Clip 14.
Liam's situation matters to everyone because of the role that school plays in our society. We're seeing right now, people are starting to question the value of free speech, even though free speech plays an essential role in keeping our system of government free. And that's because schools have been failing to adequately instill in children the value that speech plays. Instead, they're teaching children exactly what the school has, the message the school sent here, which is if speech offends you, then it can be shut down. You can get the government to come and silence that speech. That's exactly the wrong message. We need our schools to be instilling in students the values that are necessary for them to play their role as responsible citizens who will also respect liberty, exercise it responsibly, and also respect the liberty of other people who don't necessarily agree. So this case is good for everyone, whether you like Liam's speech or whether you don't. What you should care about is free speech for all and schools that will instill in all a respect for free speech.
Now, once again, just to clarify, they're asking the Supreme Court to take the case. It doesn't mean the justices will. There's a whole bunch of cases the high court never takes. But the ADF is asking them to take this up, and if they do, it will be sometime between today and probably March before we get a decision on whether they
Okay,
will.
so you have a young man in, it was elementary school?
He was in 7th grade at the
Seventh
time.
grade, middle school in Massachusetts. He wears a T-shirt to school which says there are only two genders. Is that what it said?
Yes.
And that triggered the administration at the school to tell him you can't wear that here. And okay, so I would say at that point, what is your policy regarding messages on T-shirts? Because it has to be equally applied.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing, this is me talking, and I think he will win if it's unequally applied. If, for example, you can wear messaging that has LGBTQ pride comments on them. And by the way, that message that there are only two genders is scientifically and biologically provable.
Right.
So
It's not a political position.
They were just picking on him because he didn't toe the left's line on this. And I my guess is he'll win when it's all said and done. But who knows in Massachusetts? But you know, another thing. I do think that schools have a right to.
They have schools have a dress code and standards.
They have a right, yeah. So it needs to be written out. In other words, you can't go to school with a T-shirt with
pornography,
or open profanity on it, or things of that, or middle finger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are things that are prohibited.
Sure, right.
But those are standard prohibitions, not
per school,
not a political message or a biblical message. All right, I wanted to before we end the program today. Ray, I wanted to ask you because I didn't ask you at the top of the hour. What is your? Do you have a good word for us today from the Scripture?
I just been reading from Hebrews chapter 4, and this is a good word, but it also is the kind of word that makes you stop and think. That Hebrews 4 says, "For we have." I'm turning to it right now. Here we go.
Go ahead.
It says that. We have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Let us hold firmly to what we profess. We do not have a high priest who's unable to sympathize, but we have one who is tempted in every way that we are, yet without sin, which means we got a friend in high places. You know, when you're in trouble, when you're really in trouble, you need someone who help you get out of trouble. If you know Jesus Christ, you have a friend in the best possible place of the universe. Jesus, who's ascended into heaven, seated at the right hand of God, the Father Almighty. And here's what the writer of Hebrews says. He can sympathize. He knows who you are. He knows where you are. And friends, This may scare you, but don't let it scare you. He knows what you've done. He knows what you've done because he saw it all anyway. If you come to him with confidence. It says, let us approach the throne of grace. It's not a throne of judgment. If you know Jesus, the throne of judgment has been turned into a throne of grace. Come to him. Come with your burdens. Come with your cares. Come with your worries. And it says here at the end that we may find mercy and grace to help us. And my version says in our time of need, but one version says in the nick of time. And I like that. Help in the highest place of the universe, right next to the throne of God. If you're in trouble, friends, come to Jesus. He'll give you grace and mercy right when you need it in the very nick of time.
Now, where are you reading?
Hebrews chapter 4, verses 14, 15, and 16.
When you start studying just God and you realize how, when we went to the Creation Museum a couple weeks back, and when they had like a video theater in there where you lay on you get in your chair, you look up, and they show the stars in the universe, and they spend 15 or 20 minutes going over the whole universe, and then you realize just how small we are in the grand scheme of things. But to know that Jesus is able to sympathize with us in our weakness is just remarkable.
Well, yeah, and the fact that God cares and wants a relationship with each person individually. As the Bible says, God knows the hairs on your head. So God cares about you and all of us on an individual level.
And it's that's mind blowing.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Ray. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you, Tim.
Chris, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks to Wesley and Fred and let's see, Sandy was on with us too, and Adam, our producer. We hope you have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow for Trivia Friday.